Welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and we are finally here, ladies and gentlemen, the round of 8. And unfortunately, two of these guys were in this chair last year, and one of them are going out, and those two people joining me are Mike Thomas and Pat Andrews. So congratulations to both of you guys for making it this far. But like I said, it's a shame, I'm sure you guys were hoping that, okay, hopefully I don't draw against somebody that was in the competition last year so I can go further in the tournament. But, it is what it is, and you guys are both here, and glad to have you guys both here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to go against Pat because I've never actually spoken with him, but I've heard him on the show, and he knows his stuff. So this will be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've listened to your other episodes, Mike. So this should be good.
Yeah, it should be a good game. It should definitely be a great game. And before we get into today's topics and everything, I just want to tell you guys. So last episode, if you guys listened to that, it was supposed to be Tyler and Rich. That game got canceled. Rich moved on. And I told them that their year was going to be 2019. Well, Pat and Mike are going to get 2019. So hopefully, it wasn't too far ago. We were talking before we started recording that, that was our last real season. It felt like a full season. Everybody remembers the playoff win against New York Red Bulls. But other than that, let's see what these guys remember. Pat, you're over there laughing and whatnot. I'm sure that's probably one of the only things that you remembered, right? Or do you remember more?
I mean, mostly, I remember a few things, but I mean that playoff win was magical. Marco Fabian in it. I mean it was amazing. I watch the highlights all the time.
Right?
Game.
Who doesn't? I mean, the cherry on top. We finally got that playoff win, and the last time the stadium was full. Can you believe that? It was pouring down rain, and everybody's like, I don't care. I'm coming out to watch the Union take on the Pink Cows, and we've talked about this game so many times on this episode where the Union, everybody remembers that, the Union were behind, and it's like, oh, not again, the same old Union, and then Marco Fabian came around with that game-winning goal, and it's the moment that's going to stick out in everybody's head for 2019, so it's definitely going to be a fun episode to see what else you guys remember from 2019, but before we get into the topics and everything, I do want to say one thing where I mentioned whoever wins this competition gets a jersey, so that's still going to happen, but I was looking at the last couple months of the podcast, seeing how many downloads I've had for the podcast, and it was so crazy to me to see that February was my most listened to month since I've done this podcast, which is crazy because this is the quote-unquote, thank you, this is the quote-unquote off-season, so I'm like, hey, people still care about Union soccer, people are still listening, and I didn't release as many episodes as I wanted to, so I was just totally surprised that so many people listen in February. So I was so excited to see that. And then I'm sure if you guys follow the podcast on Twitter, you guys saw me tweeting about Jim Curtin's press conference. I got a media pass, so super excited for that to attend Jim Curtin's press conference. Yeah, thanks, Mike and Pat. Yeah, super excited to have that, and it was a surreal experience to be in there with your regular beat writers for the Union and listening to what Jim Curtin had to say. And so because of the big month I had in February, because of that, I'm going to do another jersey giveaway like I did, which speaking of who won the last one, Mike won the last jersey. So if Mike wants to get in here, try to win another one, go for it, Mike. But I'll be giving away the 2021 Union away jersey. And so if you guys didn't hear that competition, how I did that last time, the 3 ways of entries are leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or search the Free Kick Todd Lewis, show a screenshot of your review, that's 2 entries, tag a friend on the post, that's 1 entry, retweet the tweet, that's 1 entry. The rules, only a maximum of 4 entries per person. The winner has 24 hours to claim his or her prize after the drawing. If the 24 hours pass without the winner claiming the prize, then we'll draw a new winner. And finally, to be eligible for the jersey, you have to be following the Twitter account at Free Kick Pod. And now, like I said, we've done a giveaway before, so for the people that have already left a review on iTunes, I still have the screenshots of who left a review, who didn't, so you don't have to go ahead and delete your review on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts, you can keep it there. And you still have to tag a friend and retweet the tweet to be eligible for the other 2 entries. And finally, the giveaway is going to run from March 18th through April 17th, taking us up to that Saprissa game. So, yeah, if you guys want a 2021 Union away jersey, here's your chance. And this is just to say thank you guys for just, like I said, blowing me out of the water in February listening to this podcast, and then to celebrate me getting a media pass. So super excited for what's to come for this podcast. And like I said, it's just me to say to one of you guys that are listening, thank you. So, but without further ado, like I said, that media pass got to go to my first press conference today with Jim Curtin, and he brought up a lot of good stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't have my recording devices to record the podcast. I would have had audio clips if I would have, but I did not. But I still got there and tried to take as much notes on my phone as I could. And the one thing that I tweeted that stood out to me is Jim Curtin said that Ali Bedoya and Jacob Glesnes came to training camp extremely fit, which is great to see. Ali Bedoya, he's 33, 34 years old. To see this guy being as fit as he is, and I guess he needs to be when Jim Curtin rarely takes him off unless he gets too many yellow cards or something. So that was great to hear Jim Curtin say Ali Bedoya and Jacob Glesnes were looking very, very fit. And then Jim Curtin did get asked who looked best in the game against Orlando City, and without twice thinking, he's like, Jacob Glesnes. Jacob Glesnes was the best player on the field, which is what you want to hear, because we all know that Mark McKenzie's gone. We all assume that it's going to be Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott. I know some fans give Jacob Glesnes crap on social media. Oh, he's too slow. He's too clunky, whatever. But to hear Jim Curtin say, yeah, he was by far the best player on the field was very encouraging to hear for a Union fan's perspective. And how he opened his press conference, he said, yeah, me and my coaching staff have been emphasizing that, look, last year we had so much success because we were so organized in the back defensively. And that's, if we're going to have success this year, we need to be organized defensively. And he said that the team's been playing very, very well defensively in training against Orlando City. So he's just very, very happy with how the teams look defensively. And he got asked about Anthony Fontana. He said, yeah, basically Anthony Fontana is going to be our number 10. It's his to lose. He said, we'll flip him and Jamiro in game like we saw between Jamiro and Brendan Aronson, which I thought made sense. The one thing that he did complain about Anthony Fontana was he said that sometimes he'll leave the center of the field to go and try to collect touches on the ball where he wanted him to stay on the center of the field to open up that space. So, I guess if you want to complain about Anthony Fontana, you saw him at times last year leave the center of the field, but at the same time too, like sometimes he was playing as a second striker, and I know sometimes Anthony Fontana could be aggressive and get a stupid yellow card as soon as he gets on. But yeah, he said Jameer Montero is going to be the number 8. Anthony Fontana is going to be the number 10. And the last thing I want to bring up on that press conference is that he actually gave praise to Ortvaats, which is so crazy that he said, yeah, I played him as center back. He passed well defensively. He intercepted well defensively. He had a couple of mistakes here and there, but for the most part, he was happy with the way that he played, and really happy that he's versatile. He can play a couple different positions. He mentioned that when he was in Slovakia, I think that's where the Union bought him from, or Slovenia, one of them, he said that he played primarily as a center back, so it was no surprise to him that he played well when he put him out there as a center back against Orlando City. So, I don't know, will we see sexy season this season finally, guys?
I'm sort of hoping we don't, just because it feels like he's so far down the depth chart that if we do see him, things have gone wrong in a lot of different areas. But I mean, if he's a depth piece and if he's filling in and serviceable now, where apparently last year that wasn't exactly the case, hey, I'm okay with that, right? You know, the more the merrier if they're going to keep having this next man up mentality, right? So I don't want to rely on him starting, but, you know, if we need him in a pinch, you know, it's good to know Jim's feeling pretty decent about him after one game.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat.
I think, I mean, if we're confident on him, I kind of want him to play. Not start. Definitely don't want him to start. But I mean, we got Open Cup. We're gonna have at least 1 or 2 friendlies. We're gonna have, I mean, like the mid-season friendlies. We're gonna have Champions League. Hopefully, we make a run in that. Yeah, if it's like a a midweek game against like bottom feeder. Maybe he gets some minutes. I'm excited to see him, what he has to bring. There's like a mystery around him because like we've seen so little. And if he's developed, yeah, like let's give him a shot. Worst case scenario is he has a bad thing, we sell him. So.
Right. Well, we all fell for that one post, I think, on Twitter a couple of weeks ago where some Brazilian guy said that that the Union sold Orvats for like 2.2 million. And I was like, wait, what? Like, this guy hasn't played anything for the Union, and Ernst Tanner's making more than what we paid for him. And then you dive in a little bit deeper and you're like, oh, wait, I think he's talking about a video game. So.
If we sell him for 2.2, if that offer is ever up, just take it.
Oh, absolutely. Don't think twice about it.
Pat brings up a good point about it's going to be a crowded schedule, especially if they advance in CCL, right? If they're flying to Mexico midweek, if they're taking the A team down to Mexico, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to have Orvik starting on the weekend or the off game, right? So
yeah, we'll have games against like Montreal and Vancouver that we could throw them in.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, Jim just talked about how with the new homegrowns that they're all very, very versatile, and he likes that. He doesn't like how some teams say, okay, yeah, this player is only a number 6. That's all he's ever going to be, because Jim thinks that, yeah, that's how you kill a player's development. Like, they should be able to play multiple positions. And, yeah, I think that's what we see with a lot of these homegrown players, that they can play multiple positions. And it's like you guys said, if we go far in the CCL, if we get into the U.S. Open Cup, we're going to need to rotate players, and if we don't sign anybody else, we're going to be relying on those homegrown players a lot. But before we get to the official signing of Stuart Finley and talking about all that, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and get into the first round of our game, which is 5 and 25. So we'll be starting off this episode, which is 5 and 25. Like I just said, 5 and 25 is where I ask each contestant 5 questions, and they have 25 seconds to answer the questions. The clock starts after I read the first question. If a contestant doesn't know the answer, they can say skip, and we can go back to the question if time permits. Each question will be worth 2 points. And Mike, we are going to start with you. So remember, 2019.
All right, let's do this.
All right, here we go. And your first question, Mike, is who led the Union in minutes played in 2019?
Ray Gaddis.
Who led the Union in assists in 2019?
Fontana. No, Aronson.
Who wore number 35 in 19?
Montero.
Who scored the first goal in the playoffs against the Pink Cows?
Bedoya.
And how far did the Union go back in the U.S. Open Cup? How far did they go?
One round. Round.
You're correct. DC. Yep, you're right. It is, and you absolutely killed that without the. And there's the buzzer. So yeah, you absolutely killed that. The Union. It was a weird year for the U.S. Open Cup, because I know in years prior the Union had to play against some USL teams, and this time they got thrown in straight in against DC United in the 4th round. So yeah, they played in the first round, lost that game against DC United. I believe Anthony Fontana came on and scored, and then we eventually lost that game. But yeah, who remembers the U.S. Open Cup from 2 years ago? But I believe that's what happened. The question I asked before that was, who scored the first goal in the playoffs against the New York Red Bulls? That would be Ali Bedoya. Who wore number 35 in 2019 for the Union? That would indeed be Jamiro Montero. Who led the Union in assists in 2019? This is one, Mike, you were like, Fontana Aronson. It's like you just couldn't get it out.
I don't know why Fontana came out of my mouth. That was insane.
Well, it would not be Aronson either. It would be Harris Medunjanin with 10 assists on the season. And who led the Union in minutes played in 2019? That would have been either Jack Elliott or Harris Medunjanin. They both played every single minute of the season at 3,060 minutes. But not bad at all, Mike. You went 3 for 5, which gives you 6 points right there. And you're off to a hot start. So, Pat, let's see if you have what it takes. You saw the kind of questions I was asking Mike. Hopefully, you were able to answer some of them as I asked Mike them. But let's go ahead and ask you your first question. Are you ready, Pat?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, your first question is, who led the Union in games started in 2019?
Medunjanin.
Who led the Union in goals in 2019?
Spelko.
Who wore number 32 for the Union?
I don't know.
Who scored the game tying goal against New York Red Bulls in the playoffs?
Fabian.
Who did the Union lose to in the fourth round of the U.S. Open Cup?
EP.
And unfortunately, the buzzer went off. Yeah, I did give you that answer when I was talking to Mike, and that one that I asked you, who wore number 32 for the Union in 2019, that kind of caught you up in everything, which would have been Matt Real, who has now changed his number to number 2. So it's weird to see a left back wear number 2, because primarily you see a right back wearing number 2, but Matt Riel's like, okay, I'll play left back in the number 2 jersey. Can't complain about that. But the question where the timer went off, it was, who did the Union lose to in the fourth round? Yes, DC United. Who scored the game-tying goal against New York Red Bulls in the playoffs? That would be Fafa Pico to tie that game up 3-3. He had the chance to actually win the game in extra time. Stoppage time, sorry. Before that was who led the Union in goals in 2019. That would indeed be Casper with 15. And I did kind of give you this answer too when I was talking with Mike. Who led the Union in games started in 2019? That would have been Harris, Jack Elliott, or Ray Gaddis. They all played 34 games. So Pat, you're on the board with 4 points. You went 2 for 5 there. And still, I mean, it's great. If you guys want to keep the pressure on, you guys got to score in the first round. So you guys have both done that, and Mike leads by 2 points. So, Pat, we're going to stay with you in true and false, and I'll ask each of the contestants 5 questions each. Each question will be worth 1 point each. So, Pat, your first question is, true or false? The Union had 2 players represent them in the 2019 MLS All-Star Game.
True.
That would be false. They only had 1 that season, which would have been Andre Blake. Question number 2. True or false? The longest winning streak the Union had during the season was 4.
True.
That would also be false. The longest winning streak on the season was a 3-game winning streak, and they did that twice. First, it started with Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dallas, and then it went back Cincinnati, New England, and Toronto. All right, your third question, though, Pat, is true or false? Marco Fabian led the Union in red cards with 2.
True.
That is, again, also false. He only had 1 red card on the season, not 2. Question number 4, though, for you, Pat, is true or false? The Union had 2 players on the 2019 roster that were born in Germany.
True?
Yeah, it is true. Kai Wagner and Andrew Rutten, which I'm not going to bash Andrew, right? We've all bashed him plenty the last 2 years. So thank you, Andrew Rutten, for that saving goal against Chicago Fire. But that's all I'm going to talk about Andrew Rutten. And your last true or false is, despite having a winning road record, the Union still finished with a negative goal differential.
Ooh. Did lose. Yeah, I'll go with true with that, yeah.
The Union, they finished the season with a positive goal differential. So I asked you 4 falses there, 1 true. And honestly, when I'm looking at this, it was weird watching how I asked these questions. And yeah, they tricked you up a little bit. I probably wouldn't have done any better, Pat. But you went 1 for 5, so that does give you 1 extra point, which puts you at 5 points. So you were, you're still in the game, Pat. But Mike, let's see if you can go ahead, add on to your score of 6 already. And your first question is, true or false? The Union stayed in first place for 11 straight weeks.
2019, 11 weeks. Let's go true.
Yeah, it is true. From June 2nd all the way till August 11th. And yeah, honestly, I thought I thought it was going to be the Union just going into the playoffs in second. I believe they got into the playoffs in third. Who was first? I think New York City, Atlanta, then the Union, or maybe the Union were second. Look, 2019, I thought I remembered it a lot more than I did. Obviously not. Maybe the Union did finish second. Maybe it's third. I can't remember. I'll look that up afterwards. But good thing I didn't ask you that question, right? You did get it true, though. Question number 2, true or false? Casper led all Eastern Conference players in goals.
Oh, boy. No, that's got to be false because Martinez, right?
Yeah. Which was so crazy. I mean, look, people can bash on how Atlanta played last season, but once they get Joseph Martinez back, I think they're going to be a very, very good team. They got a manager that they seem like they trust. They've brought in a couple young players from South America that seem like, look, that's just how Atlanta does it. They get young South American players and they do well for them, and then they eventually ship them off. whether they're successful or not. Yes, I'm talking about Pity Martinez not being successful, but somehow they were able to ship him off. And Joseph Martinez had 27 goals in 2019 for Atlanta, which was crazy compared to Casper's 15. Question number 3 for you, though, Mike, is true or false? Jamiro Montero had more assists at home than he did on the road.
I'll say true.
That is false, which was totally caught me by surprise. He had 2 assists at home, 7 on the road, which I felt like every time we saw Jamiro Montero at home, I felt like he had a lot more assists. But again, 2019, 2 years ago. So obviously, I don't, like I said, don't remember it that well. And I'm sure probably a lot of you guys don't either, maybe. Question number 4, though. True or false? The Union had 1 player on the roster that was born in France.
France. Sorry, I'm going through the Rolodex. I don't think they had anyone born in France in 2019. False.
False. That would be true. They did have 1 player, and that would be Aurélien Collin. He was born in Paris.
Oh.
Man, gotcha. And the last one, true or false? The Union swept DC in the regular season.
True.
That is indeed true. With a 3-1 victory and a 5-1 victory down in DC. And Pat, Mike picked up 3 extra points there, so that gives you a total score, Mike, of 9 so far compared to Pat's 5, which still anybody's ball game with guess the Union player as the final category. But like I mentioned a little bit ago, Stuart Finley is the only official Union signing that's been official. I know Ernst Tanner came out and said, yeah, maybe we can see 1 or 2 more additions. Hopefully he wasn't including Joe Bendick, who was re-signed, and then Aurélien Collin, who the Union still haven't announced, but Sergio Santos posted pictures of Aurélien on the team flight down to Florida. He's still listed on the team's website, but as of right now, the Union still haven't announced that he's officially back, which is a little bit strange, but I'm really, really hoping that those 2 players aren't the ones that Ernst Tanner was talking about. Yeah, we're going to bring in 2 more players, because if it is, yeah. I mean, we're already seeing it on Twitter, right? People are complaining, and I get it, right? The Union have a ton of money to spend, and if people listen to the Sons of Ben, the pod episode with Carl Mandel, he talked about the Union spending, what? I think Josie Altidore money between $5 to $6 million, I think Josie was. Yeah, it's a lot of money for a board when that could have went to a DP signing. So people that listen to that episode, I'm sure that's not going to go over well with them.
I'll be honest. I was listening to that episode and I heard it and I just sort of twitched a little bit.
Have you seen the board though?
No, don't get me wrong too, because they desperately needed a new big board, right? Because the old board looked like it came out of the vet in like 1997. Yeah. Like it was a biggish screen, but now the thing's beautiful and it looks like a real stadium screen now, right? So they needed that. So I'm not bashing them for upgrading, but why can't we have both? Why do we need to pick and choose? That's all I come back to.
No, yeah, you're right. And if that was the case, I would have been fine with a cheaper board, maybe $2 million.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, right? It is a really, really sick video board. Listening to Carl explain it, saying it's a state-of-the-art video board. Not many teams in professional sports in America have it. So, yeah, I mean, that's cool to say, oh, yeah, the Philadelphia Union have it. But
here's what I come back to. And sorry if this is getting off the rails, but, like, if a couple $1 million to upgrade your video board is breaking the player budget for a few years, you probably shouldn't be owning a professional sports team. Like, or take on new investors that can supplement you and like cover that big board, and then I don't know. James over his skis. I've gone over this.
Oh, wait. So we heard that episode. Between $5 to $6 million they spent on this video board, and what happened right after the season? They bring in Kevin Durant. They brought in Kevin Durant's money to pay for the board. That's exactly why they did it. Bam, we solved it, guys.
Well, Kyrie, they can always grab. Kevin can grab Kyrie Irving. He can throw some money to him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, we all know that the Union need another number 10. I like Anthony Fontana. I'm happy that he's getting a chance. I mean, who are they going to throw in there? I mean, Paxton Aaronson's, 17 years old? 16. He's not ready yet. If he is, hey, more power to him. But I don't expect to see Paxton Aronson make a huge contribution this season. And I think Ernst Tanner's talked about that too in the past, that he's younger than Brendan Aronson was at the time that the Union brought up Brendan Aronson. So, look, yeah, we all want a flashy signing, especially seeing other teams get better. Look, Cincinnati just got Acosta back into MLS, formerly of DC United. Who knows how he's going to play out there? But look, this is a team that was the trash the last few years. They were good in the USL, but now they get a new stadium. They're getting all these flashy signings, and what are the Union doing?
Both. Why can't we?
Yeah, right. They spend all that money on a brand new stadium, get a high DP player and a Brazilian striker. Go ahead and get Acosta, and yeah, apparently they're still going to make more moves. So I don't know. Look, I didn't expect the Union to spend a ton of money this season, even with the sales of Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson, just to offset for the cost. But yeah, I do hear you, Mike. It's like, yeah, if you're choosing between a video board or players, yeah, owning a professional sports team, should you be doing it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And look, I don't even know that Cincy's going about it the right way. They're spending money. It's flashy. That doesn't mean we're going to get all these pieces and have some sort of cohesion with it, right? So, I mean, the Union could very well be in, and probably are still in better shape than Cincy at the moment, because we don't know how Brenner or Acosta are going to fit into that team. But, you know, I feel like there's a happy medium somewhere between going all in on homegrowns and then like spending biggish money on other players, right? Like they should go hand in hand with one another. It shouldn't be all or nothing, right? The more established or higher profile import players should be able to elevate the game of the homegrown players, and the homegrown players should supplement and enable your roster to, like, you know, bring in those and spend more, right? Like it needs to be a confluence of a bunch of different things rather than, you know, all in one direction, all in the other. I mean, look, they found success. And like even in 2019, right, people talk about Marco Fabian. I still contest he gets more flack than he should. But right, having him there enabled Brendan Aronson to sit behind him and then step up when the situation arose, right? Like it's not like we were just rolling in with Aronson and had all of our eggs in one basket. I just want options. That's all.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. There's nothing else to say, right? But let's go ahead and get to. I mean, there's plenty to say, but I think we'd probably all be here all night. So no, nobody wants that, right? Maybe you do. But let's go ahead to the final category, which is name the Union player. So in the final category, contestants will go head to head against each other and guessing the Union player I'm describing. I'll give 5 clues, and contestants can buzz in whenever they think they know the player. Contestants will buzz in by saying their own name. If a contestant answers wrong, that will freeze them out until the next round. Each question will be worth 3 points each, except for clue 5, which is when I give you guys the player's first name. That will give you 1 point instead of 3. Now remember, guys, all the players I'm describing played for the Union in 2019, but what I describe might not have happened in 2019. And just to remind you guys of the score, it is Mike with 9, Pat with 5, so it's still anybody's ball game. And let's go ahead with player number 1. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Here we go, player number 1. Hint number 1, first Union player to appear on this podcast.
Mike.
Good, Mike.
Oh.
Colin. Yeah, it is. I'm glad you guys both listen to the podcast, so maybe I should give some bonus points right there, because Pat knew it too, and Mike, you were a little bit faster, so it is indeed Aurelian Colin. Hint number 2, helped Sporting Kansas City win MLS Cup in 2013. Is a defender. Hint number 3. Hint number 4, signed from New York Red Bulls. First name Aurelian. Aurelian Colin is the player, so that gives you those 3 points right there, Mike. But let's go ahead to player number 2. Hint number 1, signed from Frankfurt on a free. Hint number,
Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
Wooten?
It is not Andrew Wooten. So, Pat, go ahead. Remember, hint number 5 gets you 1 point, so just listen to the rest of these hints, and whenever you're ready, just say your name. Hint number 2, scored a penalty on his debut against Toronto. Go ahead.
Marco Fabian?
Yeah, it is indeed Marco Fabian. He did score that debut in the River End, I believe it was, and the Union lost that game. I think it was 3-1 to Toronto. Michael Bradley, that's one thing I do remember from 2019. Looked like it was prime Michael Bradley scoring 2 goals, and this guy was getting booed so much, and he was like, yeah, bring it on. Like, I love this. Hint number 3 was capped 43 times with Mexico. Hint number 4, scored the game-winning goal against New York Red Bulls in the playoffs. Hint number 5, first name Marco Fabian is that player. Pat, that gives you 3 points right there. Let's go ahead and go to player number 3, which is hint number 1. Spent 2 seasons with FC Cologne in Germany. Hint number 2, scored the game-tying goal against Orlando City in the 90th minute. Game ended 2-2. Hint number 3, nicknamed the friendly striker.
Mike.
Oh, Mike barely got it. Good, Mike.
Yeah,
Casper Sherbilka.
Yeah, it is indeed Casper. And now the pressure's back on to you, Pat, because these next 2 got to get them right. So the other hints, though, for that were played for the Poland youth national teams. And first name Kasper Shabelko is the player. Let's go ahead to player number 4. Hint number 1, was born in the Bronx. Hint number,
Mike.
Good, Mike.
Mark McKenzie?
Yeah, it is indeed Mark McKenzie. And wow, Mike is just feeling it. So, I mean, for a guy, he's like, yeah, I don't know how much I remember from 2019. These hints, you're getting them on the first go. So, the other hints for that were hint number 2, played college soccer at Wake Forest. Hint number 3, first goal came against DC United in 2020. Hint number 4, recently traded to Genk in Belgium. Hint number 5, first name Mark McKenzie is the player. And let's go ahead, just for the sake of it, to player number 5, which, I don't know. I don't think, Mike, you're going to be getting this one on the first hint, but maybe you proved me wrong. So here we go. Hint number 1 is a forward. Hint number 2, made his debut against Portland in 2019. Hint number 3, currently plays for Colorado Springs Switchbacks.
Mike.
Good, Mike.
Michi Nagalina?
Yeah, it is. So, way to pull that one out right there. And it is indeed Galina. Look, it sucks that he never really got his chance here, but at the same time, I guess, look, he was pretty far down that pecking order, and the Union gave him just 1 appearance in his time here, and played mostly for Bethlehem Steel, or U2, whatever you want to call him, and he made his debut, his only game ever for the Union against Portland in 2019, I believe for like 8 minutes. But Mike, you absolutely crushed that category. And since my sister's not here, let me go ahead and tally up the score, even though it doesn't matter. But I'm still going to tally them up. But Pat, just went fast enough for Mike, I guess, right?
I was slow on the draw tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Look, 2019. I don't know. Look, I was saying there's a lot that you guys don't remember, a lot that you guys might. And Mike, you proved that. Hey, look, I still remember stuff in 2019.
Yeah, my memory's not that bad yet, I guess. I don't know what it was, but the clues were just hidden the right way tonight, which was not the same for last episode.
Hey, well, yeah, exactly. You and AJ going down to a 6th question, the first time that ever happened, and maybe it never happens again. But Mike, you had 21 points tonight, while Pat, you had 8 points. So yeah, this was definitely a blowout, and that's all due to the fact because Mike was just first to the trigger with that first hint that I was giving. So hopefully, you guys that are listening to this podcast, hopefully the hints weren't too easy. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But all I know is, Mike, you're going on to the semifinals. But it's always a pleasure having you on this podcast, Pat, and just connecting with different Union fans, letting people introduce themselves to each other for the first time. Like you said, Mike, you've heard Pat on the podcast before, and this is your first time, actually getting to speak to Pat. So that's what it's all about, just bringing us all together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I actually get to talk to Pat live for once. It's nice. We tweet back and forth at each other every so often.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas between us.
Absolutely, absolutely, and some people might agree, some people don't, but I enjoy reading that stuff, and it gives you something to do when you have nothing better to do. And like I always say, Mike's the king of spreadsheets. Which Mike, we haven't seen a spreadsheet in a very long time, so you got to get on it.
I know there hasn't been too much call for it lately, but I will give a preview that Saprissa is going to move up that all-time Union competitive list before we even play a game against Nashville. So
I love it. I love it. This is very true too, by the way. But before I let you guys go, can you go ahead and let everybody know where to find you on social media? Pat, yeah, you can go ahead.
I forget. I always forget my Twitter, and it's Pat in the Hat. There's
a whole bunch of underscores in there. Yeah.
There's an underscore and some numbers. I always forget it because I don't look at the actual at.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, look, he knows it's Pat in the Hat. How many Pat in the Hats can there be out there? Just add a couple underscores. There might be. But like I always say, I always put these guys' Twitter profiles, social media profiles in the show notes. And Mike, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Thomas19064. And I want to say Pat is true to name wearing a hat right now. A pretty cool knit hat.
Yes, I got this. My friend's aunt is a teacher at UNAM, and when they found out I was a fan, that's my Mexican team. They got me all this sweet gear. So this is you can get this if you're a student.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is definitely awesome. Okay, here, look. Before I give my social media, did you go to the friendly in 2019 between the two teams? Yeah. You did, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a fun. I mean, I hate and love these friendlies. Like, I get mad at them when they schedule them because I'm like, we should be focusing on the actual season. But then I end up going to all of them. So,
hey, I mean, I guess to the Union's credit, they played their B squad that night and came away beating Pumas. Now, it seemed like Pumas put their starting 11 out there for a little bit, and then things got heated, and the Union came away with a victory. I mean, I forget what happened, but all I remember is they try to fight Fafa Pico, and then the benches jumped onto the field, and then a player got ejected for Pumas. I forget who it was, and yeah, Joe Bendick made a couple good saves, which we couldn't say that in the regular season. Sorry, Joe. But yeah, it's a cool friendly. Wish that more people went out to the games, but they didn't. I guess why, because it's a friendly. And like I said, if you guys aren't following the podcast on social media, follow @FreeKickPod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Check out the website, thefreekickpodcast.com, or wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Todd Lewis, I don't know why I blanked there. And like I said, don't forget earlier in the episode about that 2021 Union away jersey giveaway. So if you guys are interested, you guys know how to do it. And if you missed it, I'll be talking about this up until whatever date I gave you. I think I said the 18th, 17th, something like that. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.